Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to be something that I have never done before on my channel. I'm going to be doing a sort of book haul slash book review on a lot of the books that I've been reading lately. I've always loved reading since I was a little kid. I started reading quite young and then basically I was a bookworm ever since I was about 6 years old. I was kind of finding it a bit hard to find time to read, you know, sort of in my kids' early years, but now I'm sort of settling into a bit more of a routine with them both, and I'm finding that I have time at night when they go to bed to read some books. And the last 6 months particularly, or since the beginning of the year really, I've really gotten back into reading, which I'm really happy about because I love reading. I just love the way that a book can take you to a whole nother world, and you know, there's so many things that you can learn and experience through reading. So I'm gonna go through a bunch of the books I have been reading lately and let you know sort of if I liked them or if I didn't like them, if I'd recommend the book or not. So no spoilers obviously, but I will sort of give you a little idea of what the plot's about on each book, just so in case it's something you're interested in reading. A lot of the ones I've been reading lately are sort of the more thriller crime kind of books, which is unusual for me because I always sort of used to go for like the traditional chick lit kind of books, romances and that kind of thing, but I'm really enjoying the thriller genre at the moment, so that's sort of what I've been into. Like, my husband totally just FaceTimed me and interrupted. But anyway, I'll get into it now. So the first book that I read, like I said, I started reading again quite a lot in January when we went on a trip to the beach, and for that obviously I went and I downloaded a couple of books. Most of these books as well I got on either Amazon or on the iTunes store, so pretty much all ebooks with the exception of one. So I'll put links to everything down below because obviously you can get them at those stores. But I also like to buy books from Kmart because they're the best priced I see them, and Big W is pretty good as well. Anyway, so the first book that I read that really kicked it all off is Big Little Lies, which obviously since then they've released as a TV series, which was huge, starring Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Kidman and Shailene Woodley, and obviously everyone loved that TV show, so it's really popular now, so you've probably heard about this book. But basically the book's a tiny bit different to the show, not by much, but just slightly, in the fact that the kids in the book are starting kindy, whereas in the show I think they're starting grade 1 or something like that. And I did find the book a little bit more lighthearted than the show. Obviously with the show it was a little bit more confronting because you were actually seeing all these terrible things that were happening to the characters. You were actually seeing it, whereas in the book it was a little bit less intense to read it rather than see it, like visually see it. Also the author Liane Moriarty, I do find her to, although she tackles some really heavy subject matter, I feel like she does it in a really lighthearted, not in a lighthearted way, she sort of like, she addresses everything as she should, but she does it in a way that it's not completely depressing and, you know, like that kind of, like I said, she does it in a lighthearted way, but not to the point where she's not addressing the issues as she should be. So I read most of her books, and pretty much all of them deal with really heavy subject matters, but she does it in a way that's a bit easier to read. So the first one, yeah. So basically, if you haven't heard, which if you've been living under a rock, basically, the book is set amongst, I think, four mothers whose kids are going into kindy for the first time, and all the drama that sort of happens around them. The book starts out where you know that someone has been murdered, one of the parents has been murdered, and the rest of the book it goes back in time then to find out who that person was and how and why, and you know, you see the conflicts between all the women and their partners as well, their husbands, boyfriends, and it's just really good. Like, it's funny, but then it deals with those harder issues, which it keeps it interesting. It's just, I would really recommend it, even if you've seen the TV show and you know you'll lose that mystery sense to it. But it was just, I enjoyed the book far better than the TV show just because I actually thought it was funnier. Yeah, read the book, honestly. I recommend it. Even if you see the TV show, I definitely still recommend it. So that's the first one that I read, and then from there I downloaded a bunch of Liane Moriarty, that author's other books. So I then got The Husband's Secret, I think was the next one. So this one, again, wasn't really, there were funny bits in it, but it wasn't as funny as I found Big Little Lies. This one dealt with the fact that the book starts out where one of the main characters has found a envelope addressed to herself from her husband that I think it says open in the event of my death, and obviously she's incredibly curious. Her husband isn't dead, he's still alive and well, and she wants to know what's inside the envelope, and obviously she gets curious enough that I think she ends up reading it, maybe not straight away but sort of into the book. There's also a couple of characters One of the other characters is an older lady. She is still coping with the death of her daughter who died when she was a teenager many, many years ago, and sort of her journey with that. So yeah, the book's about what is in this envelope that the husband has left for his wife, even though he hasn't died, and what she does with the information that's inside of it. So again, it's really good. Probably a little bit, the subject matter is again quite dark, not as humorous as the other book, as Big Little Lies, but still it's witty. I find her writing very witty and fresh and just sort of easy to read, easy to follow. She gets through things. They don't really drag on. Not these two books. And one of the books that I read kind of was a bit, but this one again, The Husband's Secret, was quite good. Owen is crying. Can you hear him? I'll try and get through another one before I go get. He's just going down for his nap, so he's fussing a little bit. But I'll talk about another book, and then if he's not going down, then I'll have to come back to this. What was next? The Last Anniversary was the next one I read. Again, I can't show you the cover. I mean, you can see it sort of. So there's The Husband's Secret. This one is The Last Anniversary. So this one is about a family that live on an island off the coast of Australia. A small little private island. I think there's only a couple of houses on it, which is the family that live there. And it's basically, how does it start? And again, it's another mystery. So the island had an unsolved crime. At some point in the island's history, there had been another family living on there that had suddenly disappeared, and all that they left behind was a small baby. So the book's about that mystery and sort of the family that live on there currently, and another girl that comes to visit the island. One of the family members has passed away, and she has left a house to this outsider, someone that's not part of the family, and she comes to the island and starts to unravel the mysteries of the island, all that kind of thing. It's actually a lot better. It wasn't something that I was expecting to enjoy as much as I did. I didn't think the plot line sounded something that was really up my alley, but I did end up really enjoying this book. It kept the plot moved quite quickly. The characters were quite interesting. I did figure out the twist well before she revealed it, but that doesn't mean it was spoiled or anything. It was still, how did it get to that point, that kind of thing. So there was still things to sort of find out about the mystery, even though I sort of knew what had happened. I figured out what had happened. But anyway, that was a really good one. Like I said, I think I went into that one with low expectations. Maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much. But it was really good. I also read from Liane Moriarty. This is just the books I've read by Liane Moriarty. The last one I read from her was What Alice Forgot, which I think was one of her first novels. And I believe they're making it into a movie. This one is about a girl or a woman, I think she's in her 30s or maybe early 40s, and she has an accident, wakes up and she has amnesia. She can't remember the last 10 years of her life or something like that. And all that she knows, but what she can remember is when she was a newlywed, she was pregnant with her first child, and now enough time has passed that child is now a teenager. She has 3 children, I believe, and she's divorced. And the whole book's about her reconciling what she could remember with what was going on in her life now, and her journey between that point and the current point and the present. Obviously, as she couldn't remember, and she can't sort of see how her life changed so much in that time. So she remembers parts through the book, and that was a really interesting one. It explores the way you change so much from your younger years into who you become, and how your life experiences shape you into the person, or just shape you as you go along in your life. Because obviously by the time the book starts, she's in her late 30s, I think, or early 30s, and she's still got a lot of life left to go. So it was really interesting. It was really thought-provoking, this one. The subject matter wasn't too difficult for me anyway. I didn't find it to be, there wasn't any murder or anything like that in it. There was divorce and that kind of thing, but it wasn't, as bad as someone being murdered. Again, not as lighthearted as some of the other ones, but still she's a very witty writer. I really enjoy her style of writing. So I think, and then the last one I read by Liane Moriarty was Truly Madly Guilty, which I bought at Kmart. This wasn't my favourite book from her. It was very good, and it did have a good message to it, and it made me sort of think about lots of things, actually. But it wasn't... This was the one that I said it kind of dragged on a little bit. It was still good, and there was still a lot of character development. It dealt with things like conflict between friends and friendships that are sort of a little bit more one-sided. It also dealt with difficulty to conceive a child, that kind of thing. It was interesting. It was definitely, I didn't find it humorous at all, this one. And I found that there was a mystery involved. Like the book's about something. There was a barbecue, again, it's set between, I think, 2 or 3 families that live in the same neighborhood. They go to a barbecue at one of their houses, and then the book starts, I think, like 6 months in the future from whatever happened at that barbecue, and you don't find out what happened at the barbecue until the very end. And it does get, that one's a little bit dragged out. You just like, tell me what happened to the damn barbecue, you know. But it was pretty good. I read it to the end, but it was definitely not my favorite from Liane Moriarty, but I still enjoyed it. Okay, from there I started reading a few more thrillers. I did read The Girl on the Train, which you've probably heard of. Basically, there's a girl on a train. She witnesses, not a crime, but she witnesses something that she believes is evidence in a crime that has recently happened. That could be evidence. She's not really taken seriously, so she starts to sort of investigate herself and sort of involves herself in the whole thing, basically. She's alcoholic as well, so it's quite dramatic. If you haven't read it, I would recommend reading it. It is good. I know it's a bit overdone at the moment, but and now everything that you sort of hear about is, oh, if you liked Girl on the Train, you will like this, this, and this. Don't stop it from letting you read the book. It was really good. It's not overhyped. It was a good book. After that, I read The One Who Got Away by Caroline Overington. This one was about, again, it started out with a mystery. There was a woman whose sister had gone missing. She'd been on a cruise ship, and she just got word that her sister was missing from the cruise. She disappeared in the night. And they were going to try, obviously, wanting to find out what happened. She'd been on the cruise with her husband, they were having a bit of a rough time at the moment, and it was sort of like, where's she gone? Who's done it? Has she been murdered? That kind of thing. And then it sort of goes back in time again to where it's told from 2 different points of view, or 3 different points of view, I think. It's quite good that way. Like, it's got, I think the sister, the woman that actually is missing, and I think the husband has a bit of a few chapters where he is narrating as well. So it's quite interesting. I liked it. The end was a little bit silly, but it wasn't, you know, that bad as an ending. It was a good twist, but I mean, it was one of the ones where I was like, oh, I wonder if it was this person. No, that's a bit silly. It wouldn't be that, but then it sort of turned out to be that way. I would recommend that one though. That one was pretty good, pretty easy read. After that, I read Saving Sophie by Sam Carrington. Didn't really enjoy this one. It was about a mother and daughter. One of the daughter's friends had gone missing. Turns out she was murdered, and the mother is worried that, you know, her daughter was involved, or that she is going to be next for this killer. And it's told from both the mother and daughter's point of view. It was okay. I didn't like the ending. I don't know if that's just me though. Like, maybe, I don't know. It was all wrapped up and everything, but I just didn't like how it ended. I thought it was a bit... The book, I found the book intense throughout the whole thing. I did find it entertaining. I found it interesting, but the ending was not really. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, if you like that kind of thing, probably would be a book that you would enjoy. The Girl Before by J.P. Delaney. I did enjoy this one. This one was a little bit different to the other ones. Again, there was a woman that had died in this book. That seems to be the theme at the moment for what I'm reading. The Girl Before is about 2 different women, obviously the girl before and the current girl, that had lived in this house, which was the house is quite unique in that the architect had designed it in a very minimalistic kind of way. He had certain rules. The architect had certain rules for anyone living in their home. People that were living in it were renters. They weren't purchasing the home, so he still had some control over it. If you were living in the home, you had to agree to have like personality tests done every so often, or quite regularly, to see how living in the house sort of altered your mood and personality, that kind of thing. So that one was a little bit different to what I was used to. So the girl that was in the present, she moved into the home. She was told that there had been a woman that died in the house before she moved in, and so she wanted to find out more about that, obviously. So she goes off on her little investigation into what happened to the girl that lived there before her. So this one was quite good. Again, I did see the twist coming, but maybe you wouldn't, I don't know. It was interesting to see sort of how, I enjoyed it just maybe because it was a little bit different to what I was used to. Like, it was more about the house than sort of other things. I don't know, it was a bit strange, but I did enjoy it. So I would recommend that one. That was The Girl Before by J.P. Delaney. So the most recent book that I've been reading on the Kindle was this one, Love Her Madly by M. Elizabeth Lee. This one, again, I found this one quite intriguing. This was pretty good. This one was about two girls who were best friends in college. At the start of the book, they've gone on a trip to, I can't remember, somewhere in South America, and one of them has gone missing. They were together at the time, one went missing, and the other girl came back, and it then goes back to, I think, 6 months or year before, how they became friends, and then sort of there was a conflict that happened in their friendship, so they both end up falling for the same guy, and then rather than lose their friendship, they decide they will both date this one guy, and not as like a menage a trois kind of thing, but separately they would both date the same guy. So, which is a bit of a situation that I don't think really ends well in most cases. The first part is all about before she disappears, and then the part 2 is 7 years, I believe, from the date that she went missing. So it is quite interesting. I was expecting it to have a bit more sex in it and be quite raunchy, and sort of, I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to go with that kind of thing. But there was hardly any in it. Like, there's a little bit, but it wasn't really seedy, if that makes sense. Like, because they're both in this relationship with this one guy, I thought it was going to be a bit like, oh, like, that's not very, I thought it was going to be seedier than, like, for want of a better word, but it wasn't. It was quite tame in that regard. This one was interesting. This one actually sort of made me a little bit nervous, like when it came to the point that she was about to go missing and what happened to her. I was getting a little bit, like, it made me a bit nervous. I was reading this one while we were staying at the farm a couple of weeks ago, and I remember I was reading it late at night. It was rainy and we were in this little cabin thing, and I could hear like animals walking around. I was getting a bit nervous that a murderer was going to come and get me. So yeah, this one actually didn't scare me, but it made me a little bit, like a bit anxious. So this one was a good one. I did enjoy it. I would recommend that one. The ending wasn't the best, but it was okay. I didn't mind it, yeah. The current book that I'm reading, which is taking me forever to get through, is The American Girl by Kate Horsley. And this one again is about a girl. She sort of comes to in the middle of a forest in France. She's an American girl. She's there on exchange, but she can't remember anything. She just knows that she's scared and she wants to get away from someone. So she runs out of the woods onto the road, tries to flag someone down, and he hits her with his car and drives off. And then the point of view switches as well to a reporter that's there to report on the case and what's happened to her. And the story is told from both points of view. And again, the girl that woke up in The American Girl, sort of what happened before the incident where she got hit by the car, and then her trying to remember and figuring out what went wrong and who was she running from, and who hit her with the car, all that kind of thing. So this one is taking me forever to get through. I don't actually know if it's a particularly long book. Let me see. It is 313 pages, so it's not particularly long, but I'm just not getting through it. I'm enjoying it, but I'm just not sort of I'm obviously able to put it down at some point rather than just reading it all night. So I'm right at the end. I'm not sure what's going to happen in the end. Again, this one makes me a little bit nervous. Like, I'm worried something really, really, really bad's going to happen and it's going to sort of traumatize me. But so far, it's been okay. I'm enjoying it. I would recommend it so far. The ending might be terrible. Who knows? I'll find out in the next couple of days, hopefully, because hopefully I'm going to finish reading it at some point. But yeah, so those are all the books that I've been reading currently. If you have any recommendations for me, any books that you've read recently that you think I might like based on what I've spoken about today, let me know in the comments below, because I'm, like I say, just about finished The American Girl and I'm looking forward to finding some new books to read. Let me know if you've read any of these books as well, because I'd love to hear your opinions on some of them and find out if you liked them or not. Let me know if you enjoy this kind of video. Like I said, this is something I haven't done before on this channel, so if you are interested in it, I will do more. If this isn't what you signed up for, then obviously I won't do any more of these. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!